Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving and a good Friday and a good start to the weekend so far. It is very bright and sunny here, as you can see. I was going to close these windows, but my dog is sunbathing right here in the sun. I just didn't have the heart to close the blinds on her, so I apologize for the glare up here. This is going to be the week 9 update for the Velocity portfolio. I'm, of course, going to go over what option income I did have, dividend income, allocations. I'm going to cover what the month ended up looking like as far as margin, expenses, equity percentage, all of that. So we're going to cover all of that here in a second. As always, we're going to cover what I'm doing with this account. You guys can read most of it here, but for new viewers, I am living out of this brokerage account, so all income does not go into a checking account. It goes into my brokerage account. I withdraw money on margin to pay bills in the amount that is not covered by my current dividend income or option income. Eventually, income from the portfolio will exceed what my expenses are, and at that point, I will be, quote, financially free and have choices to make and good choices to make. So, as you can see here on the screen, the income comes in, brokerage account. This is how it's split up. I was selling puts. I will still be selling puts occasionally on select cases, but not as consistently going forward. I have a whole nother account in this channel that I'm using specifically for options called the IRA income account that I have covered the first week a few days ago. So you guys can check that out as well. So let me just jump right into the portfolio here. It was a better week in the market than it has been this month. So my portfolio rose to 119,918. So that's the gross amount. You can see my margin balance is sitting at just shy of $21,000. So if you subtract that from this, that gives you about a $98,000, $99,000 net account value, roughly, on 133 invested. So I am down quite a bit on some of the high yield funds and a little bit on this options holding. So this margin balance is a bit skewed because I am holding this BITX position that I've been wheeling now for a few weeks. This is the last option position in this account that I'm trying to get out of. It's probably still going to be a little while because my cost basis on it is like $48 and right now it's at $31. So I got a little ways to climb back still. Good week this week for it, so we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. But when I'm able to get out of this position, that's going to free up about $5,200 from this margin of balance. So this balance is a little bit skewed. This will drop closer to like 15,000 once that happens. Right now, my passive income percentage is sitting at just shy of 19. I really need to get this up to like 28. 28 is kind of my goal at a minimum to really hit the time frame that I have set for myself to be financially free, which is about 5 to 6 years, and I'll show you a tab on that here in a second. So about $22,000, $23,000 annually right now. This will start creeping back up because I've been putting so much into growth. When I first started about 5-6 weeks ago living out of the brokerage account, I should say since the beginning of October, so it's been a little longer, this was down near like 8%, my allocation to growth. I've gotten it up to 20 now, and my goal is 25, so I'm very close. But with that, you can see my high yield allocation to my goal has dropped below. So I did put more into high yield funds this week, which I'll cover here in a second. But I am still splitting some of the difference with growth as well. So dividend growth hasn't been an issue. I went pretty heavy in that in the beginning. It is starting to come down closer to 25, and I'll eventually put more into that, but we're good on that right now. So jumping back over to here, I wanted to go over my high yield funds and where I'm sitting on them currently. These share prices are going to change tomorrow. There is a stock split on Misty and Ulti and a few others, but I wanted to cover where I'm sitting at this moment. So currently I own 545. I won't read every line here, but you guys can see I'm down 21.63% on Misty. But I want to highlight I have received 52% of my total allocation to this fund back. I sold some options on it, but mostly in dividend payouts or distributions. So I've received half my income. My goal was to hold any of these yield max funds for 1 year. I'm coming up on that. I think May is when I really went heavy into Misty, and I'm over halfway to getting fully paid back. So I'll keep reporting on that. And then at that point, I'll make a decision what I want to do with it, trim it, get rid of it, add to it, whatever. Ulti, currently sitting at negative 7.41. These numbers, I think, are a bit skewed. I was doing pretty well on these up until 2 months ago or so. and they've just been dropping like a rock since. Ulti has made some changes. We're going to see how it plays out with that. Misty went weekly, so there was a huge drop off there, and Bitcoin in general has just been getting beat up the last couple months. So I'm still confident that these are going to bounce back a little bit. I don't expect to have a high total return on these, and that's fine. YMAX has been pretty steady. I'm sitting at a total return of 0. I started going heavy into YMAX back in, like really heavy in July, so only a few months. So not too concerned with YMAX at this point. XDTE is my largest holding right now. Total return of 14%, almost 15. SPYI, same, almost 15%. GPIX, 9%. Down a little bit on WPay. I really just started in WPay in September, but heavy in October. So 2 months, not enough time to really make a judgment call on that. It did bounce back quite a bit this week. QQQI, up about 3% total return. BTCI, again, just got into that one recently, as of this month, actually. So and I just put more into it. That was part of my purchases this week. So down a little bit on that. Huge rise this week. BTCI rose quite a bit this week. JEPI up 7%. All in all, on my high yield funds, my total return is just about 0.5%. So, I hold these for income. These are what pay my bills. Not too concerned about total return in the short term. And I don't want to make any judgment calls on these unless I've held them for at least a year. That's kind of like my minimal time frame before I want to make any kind of judgment call on any of the high yield funds. So I'll continue to monitor these. I'll continue to report on them and just kind of show you guys how it's going transparently. So jumping over to this month in review, it's not quite the first on Monday, but it's the weekend and the market doesn't open until Monday, so there's not going to be like drastic changes. So I deposited $12,478 this month. My gross account value at the beginning of the month was $107,483. As I showed, it's currently sitting at $119, so quite a big difference there, but almost the exact difference as deposits, right? So that tells me that my portfolio this month is like mostly flat. Considering how we started the month, though, I take that as a win. My margin balance on the first was sitting at 5,188. We're sitting at about 20. Subtract out the BITX position, it's probably closer to about 15, 16. Options, as I've said, I'm going to get away from selling options in this account as much, not as consistently, just some sporadic opportunities if I see them. I'm now saving option selling for the IRA account, which is also part of this channel. So it's going to be mostly dividends from here on out. Slight dip in dividends this week. Not too worried about it. That's going to start rising as I start putting more money into dividends because my allocation, like I just talked about, is starting to come down and growth is starting to go up closer to what I was shooting for. Margin interest, $77, about $6 more than last month. Not bad. My net income this month, lower, $1,934. And my expenses this month, $11,585. I set my goal here based on $12,000 per month, which is what I want in income. So, or what I expect my expenses to be, which is about $144,000 a year is what my expenses roughly are. So this is right in line with that. It's a little bit less than that. Some months are gonna be a little higher, some are gonna be a little lower. I'll continue to build this out as we go on, and you guys will see how it plays out. And then my equity percentage has gone from 95 to 81. This is going to keep dropping, obviously, in the short term. So I just fully started living out of the brokerage account last month. So we're talking 7-8 weeks now that I've been doing this. And these numbers, the net income here is going to fluctuate quite a bit. This will probably smooth out after a few months and get a little bit more consistent and then steadily rise. And then the expenses hopefully will stay the same or steadily drop. That's kind of the goal here. I do have a high mortgage, very, very high mortgage, waiting for rates to drop to a level that allows me to refinance. Until then, most of my expenses are pretty set. There's some small changes here and there I can make, some expenses that have come up this month and whatnot, and will come up. I've got a 7-month-old daughter, so there's always needs and things like that. Last month's deposit was a little larger because I was moving money that had been sitting in some savings accounts and things like that into the portfolio, so that's why there's a larger bump here. The deposits are going to be different each month as well. With I work in kind of a sales position, so I make commission. My wife is a nurse, and she gets like some bonuses here and there and things like that. So these numbers are going to be different each month as well. So continue to report on these. Wanted to go into the diversification of the portfolio. So currently still the highest position is XDTE. This was up near like 25% though. So this is starting to drop more and more. Starbucks is coming down, Pepsi. WPay is one of my largest holdings. I don't intend to keep this as one of my largest holdings. It just is at the moment. Microsoft has crept up over 5% with the rise. SPYI. So you can see my top holdings here aren't really high yield funds. WPay is, but and XDTE is, but not in the same sense of some yield max funds, right? So you see some portfolios where their number one holding is Ulti, or their number one holding is Misty, and they're just getting wrecked in the market right now. So it's important to have, I think, a steady base of growth and some higher yielding funds, but quote safer yielding funds. You know, you can look at like Neos, you can look at Roundhill, you can look at Yield Max, and even just between like those three, you can kind of tell which ones are like the riskier, higher yielding funds and which ones are like the safer, lower yielding funds, right? So, you know, Misty and Ulti pay like 70% and 100% yield, whereas like QQQI pays like a 14, SPYI pays like 12. You look at JEPI pays like 8 or 9%. So ultimately, as this portfolio grows and 5 years from now, I'd like my yield to be in the 12 to 14% range. It's going to be higher right now while it's still ramping up because I need that money to bridge the gap between what the income doesn't cover for my expenses. And as you saw, I have pretty high expenses, about $144,000 a year. That should drop over time, but at the moment it is not. So that is the allocations for now. And then let's go into what we received this week. So BITX, which is the position I'm wheeling, I did receive a dividend on that, which was nice. That helps drop the net stock cost a little bit so I can get out of that position. WPay, BTCI, which I put more into this week, QQQI, Starbucks payout, which was nice, good little chunk there, SPYI, Ulti, XDTE, and YMAX. So looking forward to next week. We have Misty coming on Monday. I believe from what I saw too, I got a report that some of these were coming on Monday and not here, but we'll see what happens. Right now, Misty is coming on Monday, JEPI and WPay on Wednesday, Ulti and YMAX on Thursday, GPIX, Misty, and XO all but Tuesday. I'm getting a payout this week, which is nice. You can see here 2209 expected as of right now, which is already higher than what my total dividends was this month, so that's good to see. Plus obviously deposits are going to be going in, so these numbers will rise. So I wanted to go into the purchases this week. I put more into BTCI, as I said, so I'm now currently up to 42 shares. I was at like 10 I believe last week, so I bought about 32 more shares of BTCI to help keep this allocation up near 50. I'm still low on it. Some of this is being taken up by this options position that I'll get out of as well. And then I did buy quite a bit more growth this week as well. I bought a couple more shares of Microsoft. I bought some more shares of SPYG. I now have 28 shares there. I had a TQQ. I had 10 shares or 20 shares, I believe, of TQQQ and 5 shares of UPRO that I had bought back a few weeks ago when the market dropped pretty substantially. I bought them and I sold them off on Wednesday for a profit. I got like 12% return on TQQQ and like 7% on UPRO. So I took the profit on those and put those into Meta. I think Meta is just it is the lowest PE ratio of like the Batman stocks or the FANG stocks or the Mag 7 stocks. So I got a few shares there. These are expensive, obviously, so I was only able to pick up 3 there, but did buy 3 and I'm already up almost 2% on them, which is great. I did buy, I think, 1 more share of ASTS, so I've got 5 shares, 8 shares of SoFi, added 1 or 2 more there, and then I also added another new position. So Meta was a new position this week, and I also added Rivian this week. These 3 companies, I don't intend to make more than 1% of the portfolio, but the way I look at it is some people invest in angel, or they do like angel investing, they invest in startups, right? This is what I consider kind of my form of investing in startups, but they're not even startups. I think they're safer, obviously, because SoFi is pretty close to profitable, if not already. Rivian's getting there. ASTS is not, but has tremendous upside. I think all three of these companies have tremendous upside. So, if I keep it to 3, and obviously this one's a little high at the moment, but if I keep these to 1% or 3% total of the portfolio, it's not going to be a huge drag on it if they drop a lot, which they do and they will, probably more. But also with the tremendous upside they have, they could skyrocket and really take the portfolio with it. And, these are pretty well-known companies, and I think a lot of people have the same feelings I do as far as them having a tremendous upside. So I'm putting a little bit more into these, and I might add a couple more. I don't really want more than 5% of the portfolio going towards, call these speculative, even though like SoFi is proving to not be a speculative stock anymore. But let's just call it that for now. But I do have these in the growth section. So I'll continue to add to those, and I have a couple other tickers that I might add into kind of this subsection as well. We'll see. I think Amazon's another stock right now that has a pretty low PE ratio compared to the others. Google just continues to soar. I have 14 shares there. I wish I had more, but it's done very, very well for me so far, which is great. So building the growth side is what really helps the equity and the equity percentage, because I don't expect growth from the high yield funds. I expect them to actually go down over time. And then dividend growth, same thing. I kind of expect these to be a little more stagnant, although Costco is kind of a growth stock, but I'm kind of in these for dividend growth. So I'm in them now. Maybe 5, 10, 15 years from now, the dividend will continue to rise. A lot of these companies have been paying for multiple decades already, so not really a huge concern there. But I don't expect growth from these. I just expect the dividend to rise and the stock price to stay the same, and maybe a little less, a little more. So kind of a long, drawn-out explanation there for what's going on. So I covered the purchases, covered everything there. That's the portfolio as of now. This is the week 9 update. I'll have another one next week. And then some pretty good moves in the first week of the IRA income series. I'll have a video up on that on Monday or Tuesday this coming week. A few more positions closed yesterday. I was not able to open new positions in this portfolio and some others. And the other one this week had some stuff going on yesterday that prevented me from doing that, some family concerns. So I was not able to, and the market closed early, so I kind of missed my window there. But I'll have updates on the IRA income series. That'll be the week 2 update, or the episode 2 update earlier next week. And then, of course, I'll have the update on this portfolio for next week to see how the first week of December is going. Hope everybody has a good rest of the weekend. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one.